We're very lucky to have Philip Charlton from NLC, who's our main Novated lease partner here today, to run through all of the benefits and what you can get out of going through. Because if you are under any of the Oncore brands, basically, and deemed as a worker or employee of those Oncore brands, then you may well be able to take a novated lease and get the benefits that are available from that. So Philip's going to run through a short presentation that he's got, which will go through novated leasing from start to finish, which is fantastic. And then we'll be having a question and answer session after that, which I'm sure will go into the broader scope of salary packaging. But over to you, Philip, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Tim, and welcome everybody. Thanks for logging in today. Just by way of introduction, so I'm the Manager Education and Awareness at NLC Novated Leasing. So it's a real privilege to be able to share with you today an overview about novated leasing. So did you know that a novated lease is an easy, cost-effective way to get into the car of your choice? Someone earning $50,000 leasing a $22,000 car could save over $2,700 per year, or more than $10,000 over 4 years. Similarly, someone earning $100,000 per annum leasing a $50,000 car can save over $5,000 per year, or more than $20,000 over 4 years. And I can show you how to save thousands as well. So my name's Philip, as I said, and I'm Manager Education and Awareness here at NLC. And for the past 8 years, I've helped lots of employees just like you save thousands of dollars with an NLC novated lease. In a recent survey of all 20,000 of our customers, 91.7% of respondents told us that they were either satisfied or very satisfied with our services, and 86% said they would recommend us to a colleague. So in today's presentation, I'll be focusing on why NLC, how a novated lease works, the tax savings you could achieve, our car buying service, and what happens at the end of your lease. So firstly, why NLC? But basically, we're the experts. We know the real cost of owning and running a car, and therefore know how to reduce the costs for you as well. Hassle-free and convenient. Basically, we look to keep things simple and stress-free. We take care of you from start to finish, from organising test drives to arranging car purchase, paperwork and delivery. So we deal with all the admin so that your time can be better spent. You save more. As one of Australia's largest car buyers, we assess over 5,000 quotes per month and get you access to our fleet buying power. Along with GST savings on your finance and running costs, you'll also get fleet discounts on fuel, servicing, tyres and labour. Tax benefits. With the novated lease, part of your payments come from your pre-tax salary. This could reduce your taxable income and boost your take-home pay. And structuring your novated lease correctly will eliminate FBT. So before we get too far in the nitty-gritties, we've got a few myths we wanted to clear up for you so that you can be sure a novated lease could be the right option for you. So myth number one, it's only beneficial if I have a high salary. Busted. It doesn't matter your salary, a novated lease can help you save. There are multiple avenues in which you can save when you have a novated lease, including income tax, GST on your financed amount, and GST on running costs. But we can explore that further soon. Myth number two. You can only use the vehicle for work use. Busted. It doesn't matter if you're using the vehicle for 1% or 100% for private use. And in fact, you can get a novated lease for your spouse or your kid's car too. Myth number 3, you have to drive a certain number of kilometres for the program to be beneficial. Busted. This myth is left over from the early days of novated leasing. Since changes made in the 2011-2012 federal budget, the number of kilometres no longer has any effect on your FBT liability. And myth number 4, you can only novate new cars. Busted. You can novate either a brand new car, or we can also novate used cars, and you can even novate your existing car. So what is a novated lease? Put simply, it's a way you can treat your personal car as a company car for tax purposes. So how it works, you choose the car that you want. Any make, any model, Australia-wide. It could even be a used car or even your existing car. All the costs are packaged up into one regular payment, including finance, fuel, servicing, rego, and insurance. You sign a novation agreement with NLC and your employer, Oncore. Your employer pays NLC on your behalf and deducts the costs from your salary. Your lease starts and you can take advantage of the novated lease savings. So let's explore this a bit further. Your tax savings. So you can save on income tax because a portion of your regular payment is deducted from pre-tax dollars and reduces your taxable income. You can save GST on the purchase price of your car, meaning you finance only the GST exclusive amount of the car, and save GST on the running costs of your car, including finance, fuel, servicing, tyres, registration, and insurance. So let's have a look at how the tax savings work. In this example, we've got 2 employees looking at buying a Mazda CX-5 over a 4-year term, and both drive about 18,000 kilometres per year. Mark is financing the car with private finance using after-tax income. Jenny is financing the car with a novated lease. They're both on the same salary. Mark's gross salary is $85,000 per annum. Jenny's gross salary is also $85,000 per annum. Mark's amount financed is $42,146 including GST, whereas Jenny's amount financed is only $34,733 because she gets a discount through NLC and she doesn't have to finance the GST. Mark's vehicle costs per annum are $16,631 including GST. Jenny's costs are lower at $14,408 because the vehicle cost was lower and she doesn't have to pay the GST on any of her running costs. Mark gets taxed $20,872 per annum based on his $85,000 salary. Jenny only gets taxed $18,132 per annum because her employer will deduct some of her vehicle running costs in pre-tax dollars, thereby reducing her taxable income and the amount of tax she needs to pay. This means Mark's disposable income is $47,497 per annum, and Jenny's disposable income is $51,813 per annum. Therefore, Jenny saves $4,316 per year, or over $17,264 over 4 years. So here's a simple but important question when you're in the market to buy a new car. Is the price you've been quoted a good price or a bad price? At NLC, we solve that problem for you. Our car buying service gets you a better new car price. We process over 5,000 quotes per month, which makes us Australia's largest car buyer. This gets you access to significant buying power. We don't just rely on pre-agreed fleet and volume discounts. We reverse auction the market every day to make sure you get the lowest price available, any make, any model, Australia-wide. We can also novate used cars or even your existing car through our sale and leaseback program. With a sale and leaseback, you can unlock the cash tied up in your existing car and use it towards other expenses, such as reducing your home loan, taking a holiday, or paying off your credit card. So let's talk about how we make running your car so much easier and more affordable. We set a budget up front to cover all your car's running costs in one regular payment. No need for cash or credit cards. So this includes finance repayments, fuel, servicing, maintenance and tyres, registration and insurance. So when you first inquire with NLC, we put together a quote and set your budgets to reflect your current or projected spending patterns so that when you novate, you can now pay for these items using a portion of pre-tax dollars, and so that we can set up the one easy regular payment each pay. You also don't pay GST on any of these running costs throughout the life of the lease. So let's take a look at each running cost that this regular payment covers. Finance. We make your finance repayments each month on your behalf out of your running costs account. Therefore, from the moment we set up your novated lease, we'll take care of all the admin so you can just think about driving your car. And of course, your finance repayments are GST free when you novate. Fuel. You'll get a multi-branded NLC fuel card to buy fuel at over 90% of fuel stations Australia-wide. You also get 3 cents per litre off unleaded petrol at BP outlets. Know that you're better off at the fuel pump. With a novated lease, you can now save GST on all fuel transactions. You'll also get access to selected shopper docker discounts at Woolworths, Caltex branded service stations. And if you forget your fuel card, don't worry. It's at this point you'll need to pay for the fuel using your own cash or credit card. Take a photo of the receipt and upload it to our easy online reimbursement portal. Servicing and maintenance. You can search online through our website for your nearest service agent. Our online search tool will show you all the possible service agents in your area that are within our network. So you can simply drop off the car at the service agent. The service agent will call NLC for approval, and our repair assist team monitor all work done on your vehicle to ensure no over-servicing or overcharging. You'll get fleet savings on parts and labour, and the service agent bills NLC directly so that you can just come and pick up your car when it's ready. Registration and insurance. To re-register your car, upload your renewal notice online, choose the expense type and select Pay on My Behalf, and we can pay the expense directly for you. Otherwise, if you've already paid for it yourself, select Reimburse Me. With NLC insurance, if arranged through NLC, your insurance is renewed each year automatically. Otherwise, if you have your own insurance, we can either pay it directly for you or reimburse you if you've already paid for it yourself. So what happens at the end of your lease? Okay, at the end of your novated lease, there'll be a residual value payment due. This is the amount owing on your car at this time and is calculated in accordance with Australian Taxation Office guidelines. We'll be in touch 6 months out before the lease expires to discuss your residual value options, which include novating a new car with NLC, refinancing the existing car for another term, or paying out the residual value and owning your car outright. So let's recap and look what we've discussed today. We've looked at how NLC can get you a better new car price, how NLC can help novate your existing car through our sale and leaseback program, the income tax and GST savings that are available, and how you can save on your running costs. Okay, so we've now got some time for some questions.
Fabulous. Thank you for that, Philip. Very succinct and easily understandable, even for myself. I particularly like the Mythbusters section. So, Nuam, if you could unmute the attendees now, and we'll field questions with regards to
When
this.
you do that, Tim, it's Phil here. I'd just like to get Grant's input, because I think Philip mentioned about number of vehicles allowed to lease, even for your wife, etc., or your children. But I believe that the PSI legislation only allows one car.
Yeah, I think you're right, Phil. I think we've made a call on that to limit it to one vehicle per contractor. Obviously, if multiple members of the family are Oncore workers, then it is possible for them to take them out separately.
It's Grant speaking. When Oncore engages a contractor, the income that the contractor generates is what's deemed attributable income to the contractor. That income is actually caught under a ruling called TR 2003/10, and that only enables the contractor to be able to claim one car. Because it's a contractor relationship, it will limit the number of cars that the individual can claim and some of the expenses they can claim outside of salary, within the salary packaging rules.
Thanks, Grant.
Philip, there is actually, I can see a question on there who says, at the end of the lease, if I want to buy back the car, will I be charged GST?
Yes. So there'll be the residual value plus GST. And that amount will be known up front. So when the novated lease starts, that will show what the residual value would be at the end of the lease.
Great, so there's no hidden costs or anything like that.
Correct. So, yep, there'd be GST is added to the residual value.
I have a question as well, Philip, just in regards to luxury vehicles, because sometimes there's a conception that, we can't lease luxury vehicles. Are you able to address that?
It's an employer policy, whether an employer chooses to allow employees to novate above the luxury limit. My understanding that Oncore's policies that you do allow people to go above that luxury limit. So, yes.
The other thing that comes to mind, Philip, is when you say the buying power of NLC, I believe there's another service as well you offer, which is independent, as in a selling service.
Yes, we've got a service called Trade Advantage. Trade Advantage allows you, with the convenience of NLC being able to dispose of your current car. So NLC would look to give you an offer for your current car. And it's a free, no obligation service. So we would give you an offer for your current vehicle, and then you can look to whether you'd like to accept that offer. And if you accept that offer, we'll then dispose of that car and the cash goes to you. So we separate the old car transaction from the new car transaction. So that cash goes to you. It doesn't come off the price of the new novated lease car. So it's called our NLC Trade Advantage service.
I've got to say, Philip, I've had a lot of very positive feedback with regards to that. I've been dealing with leases for about 6 years in my time with Oncore, and that's definitely the best way of doing a trade-in. That I've certainly been involved with. Lots of positive feedback with regards to that, because they seem very honest appraisals with regards to the value of the trade-in vehicle, unlike when you go to a dealership and try and trade a car in.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a really positive thing, actually.
No, it's Alex here. I can lay testament to that. I did exactly that. The best price that I got was for my old car was through NLC, and we arranged a place to drop it off. And yeah, the money came. You just describe it on a sheet, take a few photos if possible. They come back with the price, arrange a place for them to collect it. And the money comes through within a couple of days. It was very good.
And similarly with the buying service, we've been providing novated leases. I've been with the company since 2001, Philip. And the buying service is excellent. There's only been one time where an individual managed to get a cheaper option than NLC could for them, and that was because the particular vehicle was a demo and it was fully spec'd, and it was virtually impossible to get a comparison because there were only new ones available. But 99.9% of the people who have used the NLC buying service have saved literally thousands. So it has been, and we get good feedback on that as well.
Fabulous. Has anyone else got any other questions at all with regards to novated leasing or anything else in connection with salary packaging around this?
Yes. So what happens with the lease if I do it through NLC, but because I'm with Oncore at the moment, but what happens if I move to another place? Do I take that?
Thank you for that question. So a novated lease is a three-party arrangement. So you as the employee, Oncore as the employer, and NLC as the administrator of the benefit. So if you left Oncore and you go to another employer, it will depend on whether that other employer also offers the benefit of novated leasing. And so if they also offer the benefit of novated leasing, okay, we could then potentially, that novated lease or that lease could then be transferred or look to be transferred through what's called a renovation. But that also depends on the recipient employer offering novated leasing to their employees.
And obviously that's assuming, Patricia, that if you stay contracting, obviously, because I believe you're contracting through White Bay Search at the moment.
Yes.
If you took another contract with another end client, we would, and still remained with White Bay, for instance, then we would still ultimately be your employer, and there would be no change, even though you're changing job circumstances and your role or wherever you may work. There wouldn't be any change with regards to the employer details. So you would be able to still contract, move around from contract to contract, and still get the benefit of the novated lease through Oncore.
That would be, Patricia, for if you don't stay with White Bay, for example, another recruitment agency takes or finds the role for you. You're welcome to take us with you on your contracting journey. So we've got people who've been with us for 15 years plus, and they've had an odd novated lease here and there, but that stability, if you like, it comes in very, very handy when looking to borrow money or rent, etc. So feel free to take us with you on your contracting journey.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. That was an excellent question.
Another one, Philip, that this comes up occasionally is people who obtain contracts and work through Oncore have an existing lease. So we have transition existing leases.
Yes. Yes, so that's called a renovation. So that's where you're transferring an existing novated lease, obviously from a previous employer, or it was a novated lease, and we can then look to transition it across so that the new novated lease reflects Oncore as the employer. So it's transferring across an existing lease.
Yeah, we do have a number of leases that were in existence before the contractor came on board, and we have transitioned the number across. So yeah, that people have always got to ask the question because they're not necessarily aware of it, but we encourage the contractors, if you go into the next agency or if you get a full-time job, as part of the application process and the interview, if you've got a novated lease, just ask them whether they can facilitate them, because it's not a prerequisite, it's just whether the employer chooses to or not. But we choose to because we know the value that it adds to the contractor.
Thanks, Phil. Do we have any more questions at all from our attendees?
Sorry, it's a fun. I've got a couple. One is, say for example, if I move on to a permanent job once my contract is over, and they don't have the option of novated leasing, what happens to my current leasing? I'm guessing that we'll have to do a payout. Second question is probably for Oncore is, for how long should my contract be before I can enter into a novated leasing? So for example, if I've got 15 days or a month or a couple of months left on my contract, what should that be, the period be before we can start the leasing process? Thank you.
Okay, so yes, so in terms of that first question, there'd be two options. First option is you can contact us and request an early payout figure, just to say, yes, look, I'm moving on from Oncore, so that relationship, that employer relationship is ceasing. Can you give me an early payout figure? So certainly contact us and yep, we'll give you that early payout figure. Or the other option is you can let that existing underlying finance lease continue. It's what's called denovated. In other words, it comes out of that salary sacrifice or pre-tax arrangement, and you would be paying the finance payments in after-tax dollars directly to the financier, and obviously paying the running costs, for example, keeping the car full of fuel, servicing, etc. You'd be doing that in after-tax dollars. If you go to another employer and they also offer novated leasing, that denovated lease that you've got in place, you could then look to recommence that as a novated lease if that new employer also offers novated leasing to their people.
Just so that I've got the understanding right there, Philip. So the denovation essentially allows you to continue with your lease in situ as it is, but you're essentially paying it all post-tax, so you're not getting the pre-tax benefits, basically.
That's right. So basically, so NLC, while that novated lease is in place, is the novated lease provider. If the employee chooses to obviously just continue the underlying finance lease, so that's obviously a relationship with the financier, not NLC, they will make those payments, those finance payments directly to the financier. So their connection with NLC would end because it's being denovated. So NLC, we're making those payments on behalf of Oncore as the employer, but obviously if that employer relationship ceases, yeah, that novated lease would be denovated, and then the employee would then make the finance payments and run the car in after-tax dollars.
Yeah, so thank you very much for that. That clears up. Sapan, with regards to your question, were you meaning with regards to kind of the start of your contract and how quickly you can get one, or were you more kind of aiming that towards coming towards the end of the contract lifespan?
True. Yeah. In the current scenario that we are currently working at RSEQ, we have those very small extensions that we are working through. So I just wanted to know how quickly or how much period that we can have at the minimum before we can get into an novated lease contract.
And that's an Oncore employer policy decision.
It's Phil here, Sapan. We don't really have a minimum term, but what we would do is perhaps suggest you think about what the minimum term is you would like, because if you did enter into the novated lease and you've got a 2-week or 3-week extension, it's a debt for whatever period of time the lease runs for. The financial benefit will be while you're novating it through Oncore, because we can do the pre-tax payments. But if the contract finishes and you've not got another contract or role to go to, you're then paying the repayments and the running costs in post-tax dollars. That becomes a little bit more expensive. So it'd probably be how confident you are of getting another role, or if there's a permanent job, speaking to that employer before to say, are they able to facilitate a novated lease for you? It's not really a black and white answer. Each individual circumstances would dictate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
No
And just one more thing for Philip. So when we spoke about the early termination that we could opt for, is there a fee associated to that? Say, for example, if we go to and we denovate the lease, is there an early sorry, what I meant was, if I were to pay out that amount when I go to another employer who does not have novated leasing option, and if I were to do an early payout, is there an early termination fee associated to that?
There'd be an early payout calculation. So you could simply contact NLC and we'd give you an early payment calculation.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, this is Patricia again. I have another question. Sorry, I've never been a contractor first time and never done a novation leasing. So this is totally new for me. So my question is, the period, the lease term is, can I choose it just because I want it, or because it's based on my salary? If I choose 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, it depends on what I earn, or it's just my decision?
It's your decision. So you can choose any lease term you choose, from a minimum of 12 months up to a maximum of 60 months or 5 years. So a minimum lease of 1 year, maximum initial lease 5 years, or anywhere in between. So you can choose. That's your decision.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Phil, go ahead.
I was just going to perhaps expand a little bit on that. Obviously, if you're buying a $40,000, $50,000 vehicle over 12 months rather than 5 years, the repayments are going to be a lot larger than if it was over 5 years. So you'd have to look at your own cash flow there. But I'm assuming Philip, NLC would do the budget there, and you probably wouldn't suggest somebody did that over 12 months rather than 60 months if they were only earning, say, $50,000 or $60,000.
So basically, the rule of thumb is the longer the lease, the lower the payments each pay, and the lower the residual value. Conversely, the shorter the lease, obviously, the higher the payments each pay and the higher the residual value. So we would do up a quote, and that way the employee can see what they might want to do a quote over, say, 2 time periods, just to make that comparison for them to decide based on their cash flow and their budgets as to what lease term would suit them.
And Philip, is there kind of a guide with regards to which of those 2 options would give you the best tax benefits? For instance, is it worth loading the lease as much as possible and making your monthly repayment as high as possible? And would that give you a better tax benefit than if you're making smaller monthly repayments?
Yeah, so the lease term can be the employee's choice of either, can be a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year, 4 year, or a 5 year term. So they can choose any of those, and it's really up to them, and I guess in consultation perhaps with their own financial advisor or tax advisor as to what would suit them.
We get some literature occasionally, Philip, from NLC as well about the savings to purchasing new cars, obviously the buying power. Would you suggest there's any particular period in the year that would be better, more beneficial, as in reduced pricing, end of a month, end of a quarter, end of a financial year, calendar year? What's your experience there?
With our volume buying power, we tend to get good pricing all through the year. it'll depend to some extent on the choice of vehicle. There may be some manufacturers of vehicles that are providing us with particularly attractive specials. And certainly there's some seasonality there, and certainly towards the end of the calendar year, towards the end of the financial year, sometimes that can provide some added attraction in terms of prices that we're able to source. But generally speaking, we get good pricing throughout the year. It really depends on the choice of the make and model of car.
It's very similar to a standard consumer who's going into a dealership, essentially.
Sorry, Patricia here again. I don't know if we have time, but I hope it's my last question. You just mentioned not long ago that you said that if you are not in a contract, you finish the contract and you are going into next one, but you sometimes contractors have like a period of like maybe a month or 2 months before you get the next contract. And you said that then the innovation leasing goes as a post-task payment. So what happened in those cases? Because sometimes you don't get a contract straight after your current contract, that you have a gap, or maybe you want to have holidays in between contracts. What happens then?
I think, Patricia, it's Phil here. I didn't hear all of it, but I think your question was whether if there's a lag between finishing the contract with a novated lease and not getting one straight away, maybe 6 to 8 weeks afterwards. I might just ask Philip first, what is the time where the employment basically ends through Oncore? Is it? I'm not sure if you know whether it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Do you have an answer for that?
So it depends on the amount of funds that are in that employee's account at that time. So obviously it depends on that employee's account, and they are able to look at their account online, a bit like a bank account, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because obviously, while there's the same regular amount coming across from payroll into their account, they might be doing a few less kilometres than what they'd estimated, and so that might have built up funds. So provided there are sufficient funds in the account for us to make those finance repayments, to pay the running costs, that novated lease would continue to the extent that there are sufficient funds in that account.
Okay.
Can I put money on that account?
That account is funded from your employer, so it's an employer provided benefit, so it's funded from those payments coming across from the employer.
So you can't add money to it, Patricia. Basically, it's money we invoice the recruiter, we receive it and pay it to you, because those are the funds we use to pay pre-tax the novated lease and running costs. So in all honesty, if you haven't got a contract saying 6 weeks, our experience is that there's no other funds left, because even when you come to the end of the contract, you're still going to receive a payment 1 week, 2 weeks, sometimes 3 or 4 weeks after the contract's finished, depending on the pay frequency through the agency.
Yeah.
But that money will still be there. It would probably be worthwhile you contacting us if that happened and say, hey guys, I've not got my next contract yet. Don't pay that out to me. Can you use that to fund and pay the novated lease? But again, it'll be dependent on, are you hand to mouth, week to week? How badly do you need the money? Because you'll still be able to keep the novated lease, but you'll be paying it from post-tax dollars until you get the next contract roll, hopefully, and we can renovate it again.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks.
It's just keep talking to us, because if necessary, we can always liaise with NLC as well and just try and get the best outcome for yourself.
Yeah, thanks.
Pleasure.
Hi everyone, it's Machi here. I have a question. What happens with unused funds on your account towards the end of lease?
Can you just repeat the question?
What happens with unused funds? So basically, you may accumulate your funds over, let's say, 3 years of your novated lease. And what happens towards the end if you actually accumulate that funds? So basically you are in credit at the end of the lease.
Sure, yes. So at the end of that lease, we do a reconciliation, and that positive balance, those funds that are in your account, are then returned to you via Oncore, where those funds are then income taxed and the net amount is returned to you.
Okay, sounds good. And also, if I decide to renew my lease, will that credit go towards the new lease then?
You can choose to roll over those funds to the new novated lease.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matthew.
If there's no more, Tim, it might be worthwhile just asking if anybody's got any general packaging inquiries.
Yep, I think you've done that, Phil. Thank you. Yeah, so if anyone does have anything with regards to the wider scope of salary packaging, obviously, or anything on novated leasing, whilst we've got Philip, who's been a fountain of knowledge today, can I just say thank you very much, Philip, for giving us your time today.
Thank you. Pleasure.
But obviously, if anyone's shy or they don't want to ask the question now, feel free to get in contact with us and at Oncore, and we will endeavour to turn around your query as quickly as possible with regards to the salary packaging.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. Thanks
can
for
I
your
say
questions.
something
Yeah.
about Oncore? I think you provide a really excellent service. So it's amazing. Really,
Thank
the
you.
guys can respond pretty quick to any of my questions. So I just wanted to say that thank you.
No, we appreciate the feedback, Patricia, because I know the recruiter team who particularly look after your account, they're very hardworking. They do service about 1,500 contractors every day. So they certainly try and get to queries as quickly as possible. But no, it's great for us to offer this additional content with regards to these webinars. And thank you very much, Philip, for putting your hand up and coming along and giving us your extra time. And also that information with regards to novated leasing, because I think it's one of those kind of almost mysterious kind of subjects which always pops its head up every now and again. And I think a lot more people can take benefit and save a lot of money, because ultimately, you don't need to be special. If you're a contractor, then it's something that you can genuinely avail yourself of and save a lot of money with tax dollars.
Just probably a final comment for me, Tim, is in regards to novated leasing, depending where we are in the life cycle, determines perhaps when and if you would avail of a novated lease. Because I think statistically, correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, in Australia we change our vehicles probably every 3 or 4 years. And your working life might be, say, 40 years. You might be going through 8, 9, 10 different vehicles. It may not be opportune to take a novated lease at number 1, but maybe number 4 and number 5, number 6. And you do find people who do take advantage of it, get a taste of it, particularly if you've got other debt, and having it financially beneficial loan, and they find it very attractive.
Yeah, and I think comparing it directly with personal loans is it's a no-brainer. Really, leasing is definitely a much better, certainly tax-effective way of purchasing a vehicle. Now, there was actually one more question I've just seen come through from Liam. He's got no mic, but he says, "Is there a catalogue with regards to the vehicles, Philip?"
There's no catalogue because it's your choice of any make or model of car that you choose.
Great stuff. So that can be from any supplier, any dealership or anything.
That's right. So so any make, any model, Australia-wide.
It might be worth just expanding on that, Philip, as in what constitutes a vehicle that can be leased. No motorcycles over a particular tonnage or number of passengers.
Sure. Yes. So under tax legislation, so novated leasing applies to cars. So things like sedans, hatches, SUVs, dual cab utes, provided it's got a carrying capacity, or what's technically called a payload, of less than 1 tonne. So certainly if you're looking at a dual cab ute, you probably just want to check that the payload is less than 1 tonne or less than 1,000 kilograms. It doesn't apply to motorbikes. Taxman doesn't apply novated leasing to motorbikes. So basically, yeah, it applies to cars.
No bikes or semi-trailers. Anyone out there?
I think, was it less than 9 passengers or no?
Yeah, less than 9 passengers. So certainly, you know, an SUV that might be a 7-seater, yeah, that's fine. So provided it's designed to carry less than 9 passengers.
Great. Thanks for clearing that up, Philip.
And I'll also be sending out to the attendees of today an email that people have got the opportunity for a one-on-one consultation with me if they're wanting to find out more. Awesome.
Thank you very much, Philip. That's really handy because I think there are a lot of questions around novated leasing, and it's great to have someone with your knowledge and experience around that we can refer to. That's brilliant. Okay, so we've gone over our 45 minutes, so thank you very much, everybody. If anyone does have any more questions, as I say, feel free to either pick up the phone and give us a call here at Oncore, or send us an email and we'll get back to you on it. Yeah, thanks very much for your time, everybody, and great to see you all, and thanks for your attendance.